Margaret Chen had worked at Harman Industries for 11 years. She was not the loudest employee in the building, not the most decorated, not the one whose name appeared in company newsletters. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? She was simply the woman who arrived early, stayed late, and quietly made everything around her better. She worked in the main lobby as a senior receptionist, greeting every visitor with the same warm smile, whether they were a delivery person or a board member. She knew everyone's coffee orders, remembered birthdays, and had a small drawer filled with Band-Aids, mints, and a tiny stuffed bear she kept for children who visited the office with their parents. Nobody told her to keep that drawer. She just did. On a cold Tuesday morning in November, everything changed. Richard Harman, the 54-year-old CEO of Harman Industries, was scheduled to present at a critical investor summit on the 40th floor. The entire building buzzed with tension. Security had been tightened. The lobby gleamed. Every employee had been briefed on protocol. Nothing was to be out of order. Richard arrived with his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, in tow. His wife had been in a car accident the previous week and was still recovering, and his usual nanny had called in sick that morning. He had no choice but to bring Lily along, planning to keep her in his private office, with a tablet and snacks until the summit ended. Lily had autism and found unfamiliar environments deeply overwhelming. The moment she stepped into the lobby, the bright lights, the crowd of sharp-suited investors, and the sharp echo of marble floors hit her all at once. She froze. Then she began to whimper, pressing herself against her father's leg, covering her ears. Richard looked panicked. He had a room full of investors waiting upstairs, cameras ready, presentations loaded. His assistant hovered uselessly nearby, unsure what to do. Security guards stiffened. A few investors glanced over with expressions that were not kind. Margaret saw all of this from behind her desk. Without hesitating for even a second, she walked out from behind the reception counter, crouched down to Lily's level, and said softly, "Hey, sweetheart, I have something special. Would you like to see?" She reached into that little drawer and pulled out the small stuffed bear. Lily's eyes, still wet with tears, landed on it. Margaret began to hum quietly, a gentle lullaby, holding the bear out patiently. Slowly, gradually, Lily reached out and took it. Margaret stayed with her, talking in a low and steady voice, guiding her gently to a quiet corner of the lobby away from the noise. She brought a blanket from the break room, dimmed the nearby lights, and sat with Lily on the floor as if the world outside did not exist. Richard, overwhelmed with gratitude, made his way upstairs. The summit proceeded, but when he returned 2 hours later, something he did not expect was waiting for him. His head of security, a stiff man named Wallace, had reported Margaret to HR for abandoning her post. The lobby had been unmanned for nearly 20 minutes during a high-profile event. Protocol had been violated. The HR manager, eager to avoid any embarrassment before senior leadership, had acted swiftly. Margaret had been handed a termination letter before. Richard even stepped off the elevator. He found her sitting quietly in the lobby, coat on, personal items in a small box. Lily still asleep in her arms with the little stuffed bear held tight against her chest. Richard stood very still for a long moment. Then he walked toward Margaret. And in front of every person in that lobby, every investor still milling about, every staff member watching from the corners of their eyes, he reached out and gently took the box from her hands. He set it down on the reception desk. He looked at the HR manager and said calmly but clearly, "This woman did not abandon her post. She extended it. She did in 20 minutes what no training manual ever could. She showed my daughter that this world is safe. I will not work in a building that punishes that." He turned to Wallace and said, "Effective today, you are on a performance review." Then he looked at Margaret and said, "I believe your desk is still right there, and I believe we owe you a very sincere apology." Margaret did not cry. She simply nodded, set her coat on the back of her chair, and gently transferred the sleeping Lily to her father's arms. She straightened her blazer, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and sat back down at her desk. The lobby was completely silent. Then one by one every person in that room began to applaud. Some acts of kindness are too small for headlines and too large for silence. Margaret never asked to be seen. She only ever chose to see others. And on that cold Tuesday morning, the right person finally saw her too. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories, where every story is a reminder that humanity's greatest strength has always been its kindness.